everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Pimp, Gimp, and Shrimp Show. Hey, we're back here again with Scrap Metal decided to join me again and
good morning,
do another
good
show. Well, welcome, Scrap Metal. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. I might be on here for a couple more.
Hey, I like it, man. Bring it on. And of course, me, Smelly LaFoot, your fucking host with the most. I just wanted to say that. That sounds awesome.
That does sound awesome.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, guys, in today's episodes, we're going to do our favorite SNL comedians, actors, actresses, whatever it is.
Our
SNL's been on for
there.
like coming on 50 years now, right? 40?
Yeah, no, 50
years. Holy shit.
They were
just
back in the 70s.
dishing out people left and right. The man, the myth, the legend,
Lauren. Lauren, whatever his name is. That last name is Davis.
Yeah.
No, Lauren something. Lauren Michaels.
Lauren Michaels. Sorry, I was gonna say I listened to Fly on the Wall and I watched the damn thing. I think his fucking name. Lauren Michaels, the dude that fucking brought this all together, and the guy who's still there.
He's still there running it, and he has produced more comedic geniuses than you
found more guys, and obviously he gets help finding people. But you know, he a lot of times he gets the final say. So
he's a savant at that, man.
There you go. Exactly. He's good. Right.
Damn, does he know that craft?
Right. He knows exactly the guys that he wants and he gets, and you know, not everybody pans out, but the talent that he gets is never wrong.
No. He has an eye for it where he can. I think if you come in that building and he gives you a shot and you ain't cutting it out, he gets you out of there quick.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Because he wants top tier.
And I would say the people who don't make it, usually it's not because they don't have the talent. It's maybe just they're not ready, or they just you know the circumstances that have coming on.
They might need a little bit more time.
We probably don't know about, but but for the most part, I mean, fuck, you know, it's amazing, you know. And you start with the very first crew, and I want to say, was it 74?
I think so. Yeah,
3. It was kind of close. I mean, it's almost.
You had, I think, was it Chevy Chase?
So yeah, the original crew was I'm going to pull up the thing right. We should know this by now, but the original crew is
Chevy Chase, Steve Martin.
No, Steve Martin was never. He was on there so much. He was never an original cast member, but they thought of him one because he was on the first episode. He was one of the first guests on there.
Okay,
not the official guest, but all right. So you had Dan Aykroyd, Lorraine Newman, Gilda Radner, John Belushi, Chevy Chase. Was it Jane Curtin? I think Jane Curtin was on there. I'm sorry, I break everything down by a decade.
Yeah, that's how we did it this time.
I think that was it. Am I missing Gilda Radner? I think that's it. And Bill Murray didn't get there till after.
No, Bill Murray was
second or third
70. Season. No, he was late, 79 to 80s.
Okay, so it was on. So it was on for like 2 or 3 years. Then when Bill Murray came on.
Yep.
But basically, so I want to break this down. So our favorite comedians, you know, that come from there, and we'll break it down by
some
by
brilliant
decade.
people.
Yeah. So let's go with that first to 70s and stuff. So obviously, these come with monster fucking people that are still relevant today. Bill Murray is number one on I shouldn't say number one. Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd,
Steve Martin,
which is always It's funny when I looked up because he was never officially a cast member.
John Belushi.
John Belushi. Yeah. Yes, those guys are still, you know, the movies that come out of that, you know, we're talking about the Blues Brothers, Animal House. Yeah, exactly.
Steve Martin has a list of movies that goes on and on.
Right, exactly.
Dan Aykroyd, too. Conehead.
Yeah, the Coneheads. Right, exactly. Fucking awesome. Fucking movie. Hey, talk about the Coneheads, and I listened to The Fly on the Wall with Dana Carvey, and they were in David Spade. They were interviewing Dan Aykroyd, and they were talking about the Coneheads that was made back in the late 80s. All the stars that were on that and the Coneheads, if you ever look up to see just people who made just little appearances on that, there was a shitload of people that come on, especially like Saturday Night Live. That people, you know, Adam Sandler, like little small parts. Chris Farley was on it. It was just all this
Sandler was on that movie.
Yeah, briefly. There was just all, you know. It was made at that time where all those people were on the cast, plus other people that just came on in general.
Oh God.
Yeah. So some of the women like Lorraine Newman and Gilda Radner, and sadly now these SNL people are, you know, they're getting older, so some are going to run. But some of these women that first come on, Jane Curtin, who's still, I think she's still, she was on Third Rock from the Sun. You remember her? She was, but these original cast members are what kicked off the whole thing. Chevy Chase stayed for a year.
Chevy Chase, one
and
of
then
the
he
most
blew up.
racist ass motherfuckers ever.
Yeah, and unfortunately, you hear stories
Oh
about
my
him
God.
like off camera. He's such a pain in the ass, but on camera, he is very funny.
No, what was that stupid movie where he was the detective?
Fletch.
Oh my
Fletch and Fletch Lips.
God,
Good movies.
Fucking Fletch.
What is it? Modern Problems, and I think
Vacation.
vacation movies are awesome.
Oh my God.
Right now, Christmas Vacation, which people I've already watched like 5 times myself. You
When
know,
he sat there and he was like, everyone's gonna sit here in this fucking thing and wait for his fat ass to get out of that fucking chimney. God damn, that was hilarious.
Yeah, let's move on. Yeah, let's go to the 80s, which would include Martin Short, which, remember, Martin Short,
he jumped on there.
he originally started with SCTV, and that's another thing we could do another time. That's another crew that's still solid and strong, which is kind of like the Canadian version of Saturday Night Live, basically.
Yeah.
But then Martin Short came over, which I found out, I thought was like 2 or 3 years. It was only 1 year he was on, but it was a big year. It had Billy Crystal, that's I think when Jim Belushi jumped on, which was John's brother after the passing of him.
He's funny as shit too, man.
Julia Louis-Dreyfus was on that. Harry Shearer, which had joined twice, and I didn't know he had joined in the 70s. I don't think he was one of part of the original crew. Maybe he was.
No, I think he was just I don't think he was. I think
but he came back, and from understanding Harry Shearer, if you don't know, he's tons of voices on The Simpsons and stuff. He's a big, huge comedy guy. Another guy that I think
underrated,
but I think behind the scenes he does cause a lot of problems for he's all about making sure contract stuff was good, and I don't know about other actors and actresses with him, but I know he had a lot of issues with like production companies and on stuff behind, and that making sure he's paid right. So I mean, it's nothing
wrong with
you're
that.
talking about. You're like, okay, I just don't know how he went about it, and stuff.
He might have just been an asshole about it.
He might have been an asshole about it, but he wanted to make sure that
him.
everyone's got their fair share, and obviously probably thinking about himself. But he set up a thing for everyone to kind of make sure they all got paid.
Yeah, he set the stage for it.
Anyways, but yeah, he's another huge one.
Robert Downey Jr.
We did it 1 year. So it was that 1 year that Anthony Michael Hall, Robert Downey Jr. That year, Lorne Michaels, I had found out was not, and he had left for a year or two.
I wonder what for.
I forget what it was, and they talked about it. If you could look it up, and that was one of the years. I forget, it was Dick Ebersol, I think, was in the lead of it. So that's why you had that weird crew that 1 year with Anthony Michael Hall, Robert Downey Jr. It was like a weird.
Robert Downey Jr. is actually pretty fucking funny.
Oh no, he is, exactly.
I mean, he does some serious shit, and but he's actually a funny ass dude.
Okay, so let's go to the 80s, the big huge ones. Obviously, one of the huge ones from the 80s was Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy came from the original. He was on there. Man. That dude was only 19 when he got the Saturday Night Live, which is exactly. That is fucking amazing.
He's hilarious.
John Lovitz, Dana Carvey came from them. Yeah. Billy Crystal was on there for a year. Jan Hooks. Martin Short was on there. Mike. Okay, so there's a few of these guys. I'm gonna say that they started real late in the 80s, like Mike Myers, Phil Hartman, but those guys I see more as the 90s guys.
Mike Myers did start. I think he was like 88 or 89,
somewhere on there, right? Yeah. Obviously, you said Jim Belushi was on there. Now Al Franken who was actually a senator, right? Senator?
Yeah, no, he might have just not been a senator. Like he was up until
in Congress
real recent.
Real
recent.
He was actually one of the original writers from the 70s and stuff, but he was there for the longest time as a head writer and stuff. Some of these guys were, he did Stuart Smalley, but a lot of these guys were writers that come on, like Conan O'Brien, Robert Smigel that does the dog puppet guy. A lot of these guys write a lot of big movies. Some of these names I forget. Some of the writers,
great writers,
went off with huge producers and writers and stuff that you don't know about, but they came from this era.
I think you need to know all the craft for that.
Right, exactly. Damon Wayans was on for a year. I think it was the year when Robert Downey Jr. I think he was part of that crew, but he was on there too. Damon Wayans. Yeah, Dennis Miller is another big one. He's a funny guy.
Oh shit, he was
one of those
there.
Smart comedians. Remember when they tried to have him on Monday Night Football? It made you feel stupid. At the same time, it irritated you. Like, what? Why, dude?
They knew what they were doing.
They knew exactly what they were doing. They tried. You know what? Again, they tried it. It didn't really work out, and then it's fine.
Fuck it. That's hilarious, though.
But I'm sure it looked like he had fun. But I remember once, sometime they were saying something. He quoted Nietzsche, and Nietzsche's just some like philosopher from way back when.
Dude, I think 1500.
Yeah.
No, way back when.
One of the broadcasters I was on with, I forget who it was, like, wow, you don't get any quotes from Nietzsche usually on fucking Monday Night Football. And I was like, was that who that was? I'm like, what the fuck?
Jesus Christ. I think Nietzsche was from ancient Greece.
Well, and sometimes you, who was it? I think, I listen to a lot of podcasts, especially the SNL guys, and one of the guys like, said like, I think they said a lot of times he'll just say stuff and say it's from someone else just because, and we're all like, okay, and it's just some shit he fucking makes up, and I go, okay, it sounds good to me. It sounds smart.
So he started what the internet does now.
Basically, yeah. So that was from the 80s, and I'm sure we're missing other people from the 80s, but
dude, no, Ben Stiller. Ben Stiller started in the 80s.
That's right.
Late 80s, early 90s.
Really briefly, he was on there like not even a full season. He I think it was like 3 or 4 episodes, and he decided it wasn't for him.
Yeah.
Right.
So we get in the 90s, we have Adam Sandler, who was a writer.
Adam Sandler started as a
thank
writer.
God.
Chris Rock, David Spade, and then I'm going to put Mike Myers, Phil Hartman,
yes,
Norm Macdonald, Chris Farley. I mean, 90s.
They had some real good talent, man.
Now, every a decade, obviously, you have a lot. It seems like the 90s was just fucking chock full of guys. I think in the 90s was the time these kids, these are the guys that kind of grew up.
70s, 80s, man.
80s too, but they kind of grew up with these guys. So they're almost getting bred to do it, like
the new evolution.
Right. There's like, they've been watching this the whole lives. Now they're getting trained the whole lives to do it. When the 70s, it was a brand new thing. Saturday Night Live, obviously they had skit shows and stuff, but nothing like Saturday Night Live. So, but at this time, it seems like the ball was really rolling. They knew what they wanted. Lorne Michaels was back in late 80s, whatever, and that's when like Phil Hartman and all those guys came in. So he was really on the go, and he was popping these guys out. The names that we got: Daryl Hammond, Tim Meadows, Will Ferrell, Anna Gasteyer, Chris Kattan, Robert Schneider, Colin Quinn, Julia Sweeney, Kevin Nealon, Chris Parnell, Ellen Cleghorn. All these names that if you don't know some of these names, if you look on, you see these people
and see what they do. You know
what they do, what they're part of. A lot of these names too. No, not all of them are Adam Sandler's and Will Ferrell's that are heading up movies, but they're still part of a lot. Chris Parnell is in a lot of fucking TV stuff and movie stuff. He's not a lead actor, but he's exactly. Some of these people are a lot of producers, they're writers, and they get into it, but just because they're not headliners, they're still knocking out of the fucking park, and they're still
killing it. They're very respectful. They're very respected in that industry.
Right, exactly. And they all started from, again, they all start from Saturday Night Live and from what Lord Michaels pulls in. Now, Cherry O'Terry, she's funny. I'm putting this list online, and it seems like we're forgetting some of the guys from the 90s.
No, I'm sure we are.
Yeah.
There's just so many.
There's like, there's almost too much.
We can only hit,
All right, let's move on to,
So the 2000s, I absolutely love, like, you have Kristen Wiig came out of that.
Yep. Amy Poehler, Tina Fey. Dude, Tina Fey's huge.
My favorite though is Kate McKinnon, man.
Yeah,
she is so weird and funny that cracks me up. Kenan Thompson's Bill Hader, Rachel Dratch, Seth Meyers came out of that.
Jason Sudeikis, Jimmy Fallon.
Yeah, I mean Pete Davidson. I'm not a big fan of him though.
And he's more like 2010s. I'm not either, but he's a huge name.
I'm really not a fan of him.
Let's finish up the 2000s. We'll hit the 2010s. The Bobby Moynihan, Horatio Sands, Seth Meyers, Tracy Morgan. I mean, these guys are another big comedy guys too. Yeah, they were on the 2000s. He was on. I think Morgan was on for like
a couple until I think it was until his accident.
Andy Samberg, another huge one.
That fucking
that
weirdo.
guy's fucking funny as shit. So Andy Samberg was interesting because he has the Lonely Island group, and they're one of the first ones that started doing the YouTube. Basically, started using YouTube for what it is and how it's used today.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, one of the original guys. I mean, you're not the original, but they were the guys who were early to find out what YouTube was and start posting stuff on there, and then that's how they started getting their stuff on. Basically,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I heard him talk about it sometimes. I think I have that right, basically. But yeah, there's another huge names there in the 2000s, the 90s and 2000s.
I think Jimmy Fallon too.
Yes, Jimmy Fallon, he was on there. So we move over to the 2010s. Okay, so Cecily Strong. If you see her face, you know who that is.
She's funny.
Vanessa Bayer, Taran Killam's from there. I'm trying to look at names. Jay Farrow. And I know like guys like Keenan and all those guys are still on there, but
they're the vets of it, man.
We tried to do when they started. So Keenan started in the 2000s because he's been there forever. So that's what I'm really getting. I know there's more there, but they're not as yet. Maybe like
they still need. I think they're still up
behind
and coming.
scenes, like Cecily Strong,
They
and
have some really strong writers.
Yeah, and then they do shows and everything. Just
we forgot to talk about Bill Hader.
I mentioned him. Yeah, Bill Hader's
Okay.
on another huge one. Yeah, in the 2000s he came out.
He did a skit. He did a skit with Vince Vaughn.
Yes,
where he was
Fred Armisen. God, I forget his name.
Fred Armisen was in the skit too. Yes. Yeah. So he did a skit with Vince Vaughn where he was the doctor, and they were putting on a theatrical play with a bunch of people that had short-term memory loss.
That's fucking funny.
And dude, he couldn't keep his shit together. It was fucking hilarious.
Well, Fred Armisen too is a drummer. He started out as a musician. He started out as a drummer, and he went into comedy basically. So he's an amazing drummer. Man. Yeah, he's an amazing drummer. And talk about him and talk with him. He's like fearless. So he's one of those guys that didn't. When they talk about, have you ever heard Fly on the Wall? It's a good podcast, and he's on there. A lot of these guys talk about how nervous they were and all that going on. And he was like, I was a little nervous, but he didn't seem like, they always talk like, you always seem so confident going on. He's like, I don't know. I think I got it from, he said when he was,
you were doing, you were in the band and you had to go on stage and you're used to it now.
Yeah. Right, as much as you can be, compared to some of these other guys,
you get used to it.
But you get some guys that are just like that. They're just cold. They get up there and they just knock it out. It always sounded like Dan Aykroyd was that type of guy going out there. And,
Steve Martin,
Bill Murray, and I'm sure those guys.
Rock.
I'm sure those guys were nervous. They just kind of
pushed it away and they just did their show.
Right. Well, I mean, Dana Carvey sounded like he was solid, but. He was like, oh, I was a nervous wreck,
I'm sure he was.
He was like his first show. They put it. I forget what they called. They put him at the front, the opener. I forget what they call it. In the cold.
You're talking about the cold opener. Yeah,
the cold opener. He goes, when I first started, I didn't know what the fuck that meant. He goes, I just went out there, and next thing I know,
he has to do a whole fucking monologue.
He goes, I just did it, but I didn't know that I didn't know. He goes, I didn't realize what the fuck that was.
He's learning.
And he learned. Yeah, exactly.
He's learning. And
he's saying he didn't feel really comfortable until like 70 shows in. He finally felt like, and that was like his last year.
Felt like he had his place.
Where he had his place and he was comfortable with it, because I still got nervous, but I wasn't like a wreck, Then you hear other stories of other guys that look great, but they were like throwing up in the back,
You know what that means? That means he was surrounded by talent that was deep.
Yeah.
And that he was trying to find his place.
And it's funny because the talent obviously was with Phil Hartman and John Lovitz and Jane Curtin. But it is funny because he goes, well, we got a lot of FaceTime when he was on because there was only like a crew of 6 or 7.
Yeah.
Because there's not that much. So you're almost always on, which is great for those guys because
they need it.
They get a lot of FaceTime because there's not a lot of competition basically. So when you go to the 90s when it was like Sandler and those guys, it grew to like 15 people on where you're trying to fight to get one of your stuff on.
Very true, yeah.
But again, you get other guys like Conan O'Brien, big writer on there.
He did his thing.
And he's still doing his thing, man. That dude was a fucking, and
he's killing
he's
it.
doing the same thing as Seth Meyers and what's his name?
Well, Seth made the jump finally.
Yep, and
he's
Fallon.
A late show, I think. Jimmy Fallon, dude, he's one of the biggest names out there for that.
Yeah, exactly. So
he's definitely hit the ground running.
Some of our favorites out there, he didn't put them in order. Hopefully, just put it in the decade order so you get it. But and it's also. I don't want to go through favorite decades because just too much. I couldn't really pick one. There's so many.
That's like picking your all-time favorite comedian.
I can. I know some people can.
All the decades.
Yeah, right. I couldn't do that.
No, I can't do it.
Right. I could do. You'd probably have to go through decade. And just pick like one or two. Like okay.
And
like
what
these.
type of comedy?
Yeah. Everything's different.
Yeah.
And everything changes now too. But yeah. Anybody else? I'm sure we're forgetting people, man. I'm sure stuff will come up.
I'm 100% sure.
Yeah. People, which you guys never do. Why don't you type in or under the comments and stuff and tell us someone that you give us who you like or who we forgot or who we're assholes or if you guys are alive out there. Is anybody out there? Are you guys out there?
Let's get this conversation going, guys.
Exactly. Oh shit, something's happening. We do this every single time. Hey guys, again, tell us what you think. Tell us if you don't think. Tell us if you're out there.
If you're a zombie.
Yeah, if you're a zombie or not, everything.
Am I alone?
Yes. We'll catch next time. I think Scrap Metal's going to stick around for another one. I think we're going to pop another one out here.
Yeah, let's do that.
Pop it out. All right, buddy. Please, everybody, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.
Comment.
Hey, comments. Put up topics you think you'd like to hear. Maybe if we like it enough, we'll talk about it.
Hell yeah.
But just, don't comment to shut the fuck up because it's kind of hard to talk about that anyways. Or do. Fuck it. It doesn't matter. All right, guys. We'll see you. Bye.